Well, hey there, it's Brent Adams with Inside Farm Life, and I'm back with another week, and this week we are talking sprayers. And I talked with Austin Gellings with the Association of Equipment Manufacturers. They have an agricultural sprayer group which has been working with the EPA, trying to educate folks and different stakeholders with the EPA on the technologies involved in sprayers today and what's on the horizon, how they're helping save producers money and also save the environment. So I hope you give that a listen. Then we bring in our buddy Jesse Allen with another Market Talk report. This week he is with Mike Zuzolo, and they're taking a look back at the past year in the markets and tracking kind of the upswing we've seen in the markets over the past year. A lot of volatility here as of late, but overall a big shift in the last year, and they break all that down for you. Then we bring in our buddy the hot rod farmer Ray Bohax with another installment of Bushels and Cents, and this week he's talking diesel exhaust fluid. And if your diesel engine is throwing codes, he's got some troubleshooting help for you there, so hope you'll give all that a listen. Then we take it back to the country for our buddy JD Sheffield. He just launched a new album here in the last few days, straight from Kentucky. He's got a video on CMT, now Hometown in My Headlights. Great song. And he just packed 10,000 people into his hometown of Taylorsville, Kentucky for an album release show that even got him on Meet the Press. There was a little clip on there. Pretty incredible, the things going on with JD Sheffield. He was very gracious with his time, so I hope you go and give all that a listen on episode 2 of Inside Farm Life, or you can catch the Inside Farm Life radio show, and we've got it all archived right here after these messages. Well, I tell you what, we are getting ready, as I say every week, for all these fall farm shows, conferences, conventions, so much going on, and we want you all to be a part of it, a part of the largest farm family on the planet. And you can do that by following us on Facebook. Go to the Farm Life page, follow the Farm Life group. We've got a bunch of different groups there. If you're a corn grower, a cotton grower, if you are into produce, and we've got something for you. So I hope you go and check all that out. Again, the Farm Life group. You've got the logo here. We'll show you so you know which group you're looking for, which page you're looking for. Also, farmlifemedia.com. It's not up yet, but it's going to be up here in the next few weeks. We are working with a world-class website developer to give you a best-in-class website here in agriculture media, and you're not going to want to miss it. We're going to have all the podcasts, all the radio, all the video, everything you need to stay up on top of agriculture newsmakers, hot-button industry issues, equipment features, agronomy features, animal husbandry features, you name it. We're going to have it on there. But you gotta be paying attention, and make sure you're paying attention to those socials, because we'll let you know when that website is up and going, and that's gonna be here soon. And I brought up the radio station. Go to live365.com and you can check out Farm Life Radio. We're running 24/7. In the coming weeks, we're gonna be including some new original content on there. We're playing classic country music, a little bit of bluegrass, a little bit of gospel. But we're going to be throwing in some more original radio programming related to the agriculture industry, and you can catch that all there, live365.com, and search Farm Life. And I can't get out of here without talking about a couple great live streams we have coming up. First off, the first Inside Farm Life music live stream is going to be Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. Kirsty Krause, a great recording artist out of Nashville by way of Wisconsin, is going to join us. She has a new single called Bird that's out now, doing great things. She is a great chat, and she'll play some acoustic music for us, and I can't wait to talk with Kirsty Krause Monday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central on the Farm Life Facebook page. Then on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we welcome in Rob LaRue, the president of the National Farmers Union. He is going to join us to talk about some of the pressing issues of the moment here in the agriculture industry. A lot to talk about there with Rob LaRue. Again, that's going to be Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Farm Life Facebook page. I tell you what, it's a beautiful day here. It was, now the rain's getting ready to come in here, so I'm going to skedaddle, get things going. I hope you had a great 4th of July weekend, and this upcoming weekend is going to be a good one for you. If you're out in the field spraying, or if you're haying, doing whatever you're doing, make sure you pay attention, stay alert, stay safe, and take us with you inside Farm Life. You can find that podcast now, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Deezer, Audible, and Odyssey. And we're going to be adding a couple more here in the next few weeks. So wherever you get your podcasts, we're there for you. Well, I'm going to get on out of here for now. And I want to present to you this week's episode of Inside Farm Life.
Welcome to Inside Farm Life, your weekly connection to agriculture newsmakers, hot-button industry issues, educational features, and the best in true country music. Now, here's your host, Brent Adams.
Well, welcome to another episode of Inside Farm Life. We thank you for giving us some of your time this week. On this episode, we hear about the Association of Equipment Manufacturers' efforts to share the benefits of new sprayer technology with the EPA. Jesse Allen is along with another Market Talk report, and our buddy the hot rod farmer Ray Bohax is talking diesel exhaust fluid in this week's installment of Bushels and Cents. And finally, we talk with rising country star JD Sheffield, who just released an album, filled a hometown concert, and even made it on Meet the Press. We'll talk about all that and more as we take it back to the country later in the show. But first, some news. We lead off this week talking about corn, and the top 3 buyers of U.S. corn are buying more this year. Quite a bit more. USDA Radio's Gary Crawford has more.
China's not the only country buying more U.S. corn. For the first 8 months of this fiscal year, October through May, and counting all corn sales to all countries,
total corn exports are up 75%.
USDA economist and trade tracker Bart Kenner says that's for actual tonnage, but the value of that tonnage is up 135% as corn prices have been rising since last fall. Now, recently, sales to China have cooled off a little bit, but even so, for the first 8 months of this fiscal year,
exports of corn to China are up 10,000 plus %.
And China is the number 1 buyer of U.S. corn. They bought 13.8 million tons so far. Number 2 is Mexico as to their purchases of U.S. corn.
They're up 11%.
At 10.7 million tons so far. Our number 3 corn buyer, South Korea, its purchases up by 77% at 3.2 million tons. So the top 3 buyers of U.S. corn, China, Mexico, South Korea, account for well over 55% of all U.S. corn shipments.
Overall, the U.S. is selling to other countries far more food and agricultural products than last year.
For the first 8 months of the fiscal year, the U.S. has done $121.6 billion worth of ag export business,
up 28% from previous year.
And Agriculture Department economist Bart Kenner says this is an extraordinary year. Now, USDA has been forecasting ag exports for the entire fiscal year at $157 billion. We're already at 121.6 with 4 months left in the fiscal year. We only need about $35.5 billion more to hit that forecast. Or if you look at it monthly,
the average amounts that we would need to hit seem to be well below what our current pace is.
We need a bit over $8.8 billion a month. Current average is over 15. So, Bart, for me to project that we will likely make or break that $157 billion forecast, would that be accurate?
Pretty accurate.
Wow. First time I've ever been accurate on anything, I think.
Congratulations. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, me too, yes. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Well, weather has been one of the big stories in many parts of the nation during this growing season, and USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey has the National Weather Service's forecast past the middle of July.
We do expect to see near to above normal temperatures virtually nationwide, the greatest likelihood of hot conditions extending from California northeastward to the northern plains. Just one area, generally speaking, southern sections of the Rockies and Great Plains expecting cooler than normal conditions from the 14th through the 20th. Meanwhile, in terms of rainfall, looks like a rather wet pattern setting up from the southern and eastern Corn Belt, roughly the middle Mississippi Valley, extending eastward into the mid-Atlantic and parts of the Northeast. Also, the potential for a more active monsoon circulation in parts of Arizona and New Mexico. That would be good news for the drought. However, we do expect drier than normal conditions along the Gulf Coast, and more importantly, from an agricultural standpoint, below normal rainfall expected from the Pacific Coast all the way to the northern plains and far upper Midwest, all of those being drought areas with significant impacts to agriculture at this point already.
The tough weather conditions have had an impact on the nation's corn and soybean crops. Rippey and USDA Radio's Stephanie Ho explain.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says drought in the upper Midwest is pulling down corn condition ratings.
For the week ending July 4th, we see a steady number in a good to excellent ratings compared to last week, 64%. But we did see a 1-point increase in the national very poor to poor readings, up to 9% from last week's 8%.
He says corn conditions have been declining steadily this season.
As we move to the soybean side of the Midwest, we've got a very similar picture, except that crop progress is ahead of schedule because of some of the very early planting that took place.
Soybean condition ratings also are sliding downward.
The current number, 59% of the crop rated good to excellent. That's down a point from last week. And we see 11% of the soybeans rated very poor to poor. That is a 2 percentage point increase from last week.
This is Stephanie Ho for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
And finally, some welcome news came last week when the USDA announced changes to its prevented planting claim program aimed at greater producer flexibility in hopes that more farmers will consider the use of cover crops. Here's USDA Radio's Rod Bain with more.
A new flexibility has been added to Risk Management Agency prevented planting coverage, one that encourages producers to use cover crops. As RMA Acting Administrator Richard Flournoy explains,
historically, if a producer were to plant a cover crop and hay or graze that or chop that prior to November 1, they'd still get a prevented planting payment, but it would be reduced by 65%.
Now ag producers with crop insurance can hay, graze, or chop cover crops for silage, haylage, or baleage at any time and still receive 100% of the prevented planting payment. Flournoy adds for those purposes, cover crops planted following a prevented planting claim will not be considered a second crop.
It's important to know that cover crops still can't be harvested for grain or seed at any time. In that case, the reduction would still apply.
The flexibility applies for crop year 2021 and beyond. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Many companies promise increased yields and a higher return on investment, but again and again, results show that one company stands apart from the rest. Concept Agritech delivers innovative concepts utilizing the latest technologies in agronomy, biology, and chemistry to enhance soil and plant health with seed treatment, planter-applied fertilizers, foliar fertilizers, and full-season soil treatment solutions. To find out how to put Concept Agritech to work for you, visit conceptagritech.com. Concept Agritech. Technology where you need it most.
And now, what is your goat saying? That is a pretty sweet shirt you got on there. Did you get that from goatlifeclothing.com? Very humorous and stylish. No, you cannot eat this shirt. I know it looks tasty. goatlifeclothing.com.
Well, next up on Inside Farm Life, advanced spraying technologies are playing an increasingly important role in American agriculture. And recently, the Association of Equipment Manufacturers Sprayer Leadership Group met with U.S. EPA officials to discuss emerging sprayer technologies. And if you're not familiar, AEM is the leading organization in North America advancing construction and agriculture equipment manufacturers and their value chain partners in the global marketplace. They have more than 1,000 members representing 200 plus product lines. And today I wanted to bring in Austin Gellings, the manager of agricultural services, to tell us more about those EPA briefings and about the technologies driving the industry. And Austin, welcome into Inside Farm Life.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Austin, this series of presentations held with the EPA's Office of Pesticide Programs had a combined audience of 331 people. Of those, 317 were from the EPA, and this free flow of information has really been important in building a strong bridge between the EPA and the industry, and as manufacturers try to get the word out about the important innovations being made to equipment to make it safer for the operator, the environment, and for the community as a whole. This is a really big deal.
It really is. And, you see a lot of innovations coming out recently with targeted spray, reducing pesticide application, reducing, all of those inputs that, a lot of people can see being difficult for the environment or just better on the farmer's bottom line. And so we're really trying to educate, EPA on these technologies so that when regulations come along, we're not making it difficult for the farmer to use a see and treat technology when a label language kind of is made for broadcast application. It kind of singles out that see and treat so that you can't use it. And that's just a specific example. But a lot of these technologies are coming out with extreme benefits and overall making it easier for the farmer, as well as better for the consumer and better on the farmer's bottom line at the end of the day as well.
Well, and that is important because there is so much information flying around out there about pesticides and herbicides and what they do to the environment and so forth. And you guys really want to be on the forefront of being able to tell that story and tell the correct story.
Exactly. We want to tell, promote farmers as environmental stewards and tell the story, and the role that the farmers play in helping fight issues like climate change, because there's a strong role that we can play in that through reduced inputs, producing more with less essentially, and doing it all in a more efficient manner.
So the first presentation covered current spraying technologies, including those that work in collaboration with all other technologies to help ensure, as you said, that the application is being placed in the correct location. One of those things being control technologies that monitor the application rates and placement to make sure that the operator's putting it in the right spot, using the right amount of chemicals and putting it in the right location. And that's something that can't be overstated, can it?
No, it really can't, and that really goes towards addressing issues like spray drift, and things like that. Just making sure that we're getting the chemical applied to the right spot, and we have a lot of technologies that enable that. You look at GPS technologies that make sure we're going straight down the row. We don't have any variance. We have boundary maps to make sure that we're staying within that specific field. We have variable shutoff, so that if we're getting close to on one side, we can shut off either sections of the boom or even down to the individual nozzle, all to make sure that we're applying the correct rate in the correct location, to make sure that we're being responsible with our inputs, as well as making sure that it's going to the right spot.
Well, no two fields are created equal. So, you've got different ways to apply chemicals based on the needs of the field. And then also, as we're seeing this year, you've got parts of the country that are extremely dry, and then you've got some that are somewhat waterlogged. So, external conditions such as the weather can influence an application, and that's another mission, is to educate people that all those factors have to be considered when you're talking about spraying.
Exactly, and one of those current technologies that we had mentioned as well during our presentation was the use of weather monitoring technologies. I mean, we have the ability now to mount a mobile weather station right onto the hood of the tractor, and we can monitor that from the cab, and we can make adjustments based off the current weather conditions. So whether that's adjusting spray because of wind, humidity, all of those things kind of can impact how spray is applied and how it gets to the target. So we can change how we're applying it to make sure it gets there the right way. And like you mentioned as well, in drier conditions, you're going to have to apply it a different way than if everything is waterlogged. And so we have the ability to monitor that and monitor the current infield conditions rather than making prescribed assumptions about how the field may be when we go to spray, maybe a few weeks before we even ever get into the field. We can make these changes and decisions real time in the field.
Well, also in the presentations, you covered emerging technologies within the agricultural sprayer industry, and that included some that are slowly emerging today, but others that are further out on the horizon. What are some of those technologies that were highlighted?
Well, especially looking out further on the horizon, looking at spray, especially just spraying today, we have different levels of automation, but looking towards a fully autonomous machine, that really the operator becomes more of an operations monitor, and making sure that you can run one single operator may have the ability to run a fleet of machines that can possibly work 24/7, so that we're being even more efficient with our time and more efficient with our application, because now one operator may be operating several smaller machines that, because now that machine is smaller, we have reduced compaction, we have more precise application, and with all of that, then it makes it easier for the operator at the end of the day as well, which of course farmers love when we can give them less work that they have to do.
Absolutely. You're not even talking just about autonomy in the field, but also sprayer loading and the ability to be able to correctly mix those chemicals. So you're not eyeballing it like you are when you're making a pitcher of sweet tea here. I mean, when you're talking about the bottom line here, I mean, this is advanced technology that allows you to get just a precise mixture without you really getting your hands involved in it.
Exactly, which creates a much safer environment for the applicator. You don't have to work with those chemicals, and by being more precise, obviously you don't have to run the risk of too much or too little. So At the end of the day, either you have reduced chemical use because you're not overdoing it, which saves you money, or you have you have it more correctly so that you're not having too little chemical use, so that at the end of the day, then your yields look better. And so it's a win-win situation for everybody involved, really.
Well, another one that we're hearing a lot about and seeing a lot about here, especially over the past couple years, is drone technology and the ability to deliver chemicals precisely to that spot, completely independent of an in-field operator.
Exactly, and that kind of goes towards removing the operator from even having to be in the field. You can operate remotely from your home or the farm or a different location, and as well, it makes it easier to get to some hard to reach places or in issues or in situations where we are waterlogged, but we still need to get something applied. Now you don't have to run through the field, and you're not risking tearing stuff up, leaving ruts all over because you have to go in there with a big machine. Now we can fly over the field, but to be more precise than what a normal broadcast application would be, and get to those hard to reach or maybe even waterlogged places, which makes it easier for everybody involved, and you don't run into some of those issues.
Well, as we talked about earlier, all this is vitally important because these strategies, again, reduce spray drift, create a safer working environment, and also reduce the amount of application needed, which is not only better for the environment, but also for that grower's bottom line. And we all know that those inputs continue to rise. So that is just so crucial. And again, the reduction of compaction, which results in better plant emergence, which again goes to the yield and the bottom line. So the bottom line of the bottom line is, taking a look at all these technologies and trying to implement them in a smart way that ultimately saves you money and boosts your yield.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's what we're looking to do. We want to create a better situation for everybody involved, all stakeholders. We want to be environmental stewards and be, at the forefront within our community and making sure that happens. But we also, want to be cognizant of the farmer's bottom line and help them in any way possible, and make their jobs easier too. I mean, they have enough going on already. I grew up on a farm. I know during especially harvest season and spray season, you already have enough going on and you have enough on your plate and enough to worry about. So if we can find any way to make it easier for the farmer, that's a win in our book.
Absolutely. And give me your bottom line. How do you feel these presentations were received by the EPA?
I think it was very well received, and they were extremely interested in a lot of these technologies that are coming down the road, and look forward to working with them in the future to continue to educate them, especially as these emerging technologies come into the marketplace and really the effect that they're going to have, because a lot of these technologies are still very new, and we don't even know the full benefits that they're going to bring. So look forward to continuing that relationship and educating on those benefits as we learn more about them.
Well, Austin, if listeners want to follow the great work being done by AEM and its Agriculture Sprayer Leadership Group, where can they go to do that?
They can go right to our AEM website, aem.org. We have a leadership group tab. We have our sprayer leadership group there. Or they can feel free to reach out to me as well if anybody has any questions.
And Austin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Inside Farm Life. We hope you'll come back in the future to share the latest developments with AEM's Agriculture Sprayer Leadership Group.
Thank you for having me and look forward to it.
And again, we've been talking with Austin Gellings of the Association for Equipment Manufacturers Agriculture Sprayer Leadership Group. Like a championship caliber baseball team, your fungicide has to be tough, and Concept Agritech has the solution many of America's top growers trust. BioAid is an EPA-registered fungicide that delivers an initial contact kill of a wide range of fungal pests and is safe to the user and the environment. To find out more about how BioAid can help you increase your yields and deliver a higher return on investment, visit conceptagritech.com. Concept Agritech, technology where you need it most. Well, next up on Inside Farm Life, as we look to the second half of 2021, we take a look back at the overall turnaround we've seen in the markets over the past few months. Jesse Allen is here to bring some perspective in this week's Market Talk report. Jesse.
And thank you very much, Brent. And here as we get our Market Talk update for this week. About a year ago, commodities markets started a turnaround. Multiple factors, including weather, trade, and policy, fueled a change. Mike Zuzolo of Global Commodity Analytics says it started with the Federal Reserve monetary policy shift last August.
A essentially said we're not going to taper, which means we're not going to raise interest rates too quickly and head off inflation. And that was quite a surprise if you've been in the markets as long as I've been in, especially the commodity markets, because generally speaking, the policymakers want a cheap food policy and a strong stock market, and that's because that's what the public generally wants. And so the monetary policy was, let's not let inflation get out the door. So that naturally kept a lid on commodity prices.
That policy changed in August of last year, leading to changes across the economy.
Right about a year, we're coming up on that policy shift, and look at what's happened in terms of price increases that we're seeing in many food areas and gasoline prices, so on and so forth. And that has, obviously been exacerbated by the pandemic and the supply chain issue. And I would say that's maybe 1A, the monetary policy, and then the pandemic magnification of that monetary policy.
Additionally, Zuzolo says some believe commodities are in a super cycle of demand. However, he says that's more so true for commodities, part of the new Green Deal, rather than agricultural commodities.
The idea that we're in a new wave of demand, kind of like what we had with China in the original super cycle about 10 years ago. I don't participate in that mindset because I'm not participating in a new round of commodity demand that is pushing that demand curve out, pushing the demand higher in a consistent and long-term manner. I say that because I think you could get away with talking about that if you talked about commodities that were part of maybe the new Green Deal in terms of copper and maybe even silver and commodities like that. I could understand why you would want to be talking about another super cycle of demand.
Zuzolo says the current market conditions are supply and weather related.
I think what we're having right now in agriculture is more supply related, and I think USDA's report once again really magnified that or showed me that I think I'm on the right track by telling clients and subscribers that this is supply and weather driven for the most part, and I think that's exactly what happened in the acreage-based numbers that we got from USDA at the end of June.
Now, with market volatility high and USDA reports indicating a weather and supply-driven market, history shows us the next month or so will be important to watch. Mike Zuzolo says producers should closely watch the supply and demand picture through the summer.
You just ask yourself about every week between now and the end of the summer, is supply falling faster than demand? In other words, is weather still curbing the supply side faster than the prices rallying sharply are curbing the demand side? Once the high and the demand has been rationed, that the prices fall very dramatically.
At the 30,000-foot level, he expects supply expectations to continue to fall faster than demand in the near term.
My expectation, in broad brushing it out, is the idea that supply will continue to fall for a time period faster than demand. And why I believe that, because we're still having to deal with a national yield in corn and soybeans that USDA has pegged at an extremely high level.
Zuzolo says current USDA yield projections for this year are higher than the 7-year averages.
USDA's 21 corn yield nationally is 179.5 right now. The 7-year average is 172.3, and it's a pretty nice linear 45-degree trend that we've been able to increase our yields ever since the mid-2000s. And so that's over a 7-bushel yield difference. And in the soybeans, at 50.8 this year, the 7-year average is 49.3.
As for what history shows us, Zuzolo points to 2008 and 2012 while noting that a small change in average corn yields could significantly impact supply.
If you just take a half a bushel off of USDA's numbers and keep your demand base still at that 4.4 billion bushel level that USDA has us for this year, you can go below 100 million bushels very easily on U.S. ending stocks for this current year. So I think in the next 20 to 30 days, we're going to have to work through that, where we're going to have to figure out between the drought monitor, the crop conditions, and the rainfall patterns, how bad supply is falling, and then we'll probably swing back around and look at the demand side, because that's kind of what we did back in 08 and 12.
Zuzolo adds it's important to keep a level head amid the market volatility and to follow your marketing plan. And this has been the Market Talk update for Inside Farm Life this week. Find more online, markettalkag.com. We have our daily episodes every weekday afternoon looking back at the day's market trade. We also have midday commentary posted up each day around the noon hour looking at the trade in progress and much more. You can find it all online, markettalkag.com. In Nashville for this Market Talk update, I'm Jesse Allen reporting.
And you can find Jesse's daily market updates at markettalkag.com. Again, that's markettalkag.com. And you can find him by searching Market Talk on Facebook. He also appears on the American Ag Network, and you can hear him host Your Ag Today, weekday mornings about 6:50 a.m. Eastern on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, Rural Radio, Channel 147. Well, next up on Inside Farm Life is your diesel engine throwing codes for diesel exhaust fluid. In this week's installment of Bushels and Cents, the hot rod farmer Ray Bohacks helps you troubleshoot one possible cause.
Welcome to Bushels and Cents on Farm Machinery Digest Radio, heard exclusively on SiriusXM Channel 147 Rural Radio. I am your host, Ray Bohacks, the hot rod farmer. And never forget, it is not what you make, but what you keep that counts. There is no denying that Tier 4 emission controls added complexity to the diesel engine, especially with the selective catalytic reduction, or better known as SCR system. DEF is injected into the SCR to evoke a chemical change in the exhaust. The crystallization of DEF that is spilled during filling also occurs at the tip of the dedicated injector. If your equipment sets a code for any DEF or SCR parameter, remove the injector and clean the tip. Often, that is all that is needed. Agriculture runs on machinery, profits on reliability. Visit farmmachinerydigest.com, where steel and soil meet.
And don't forget, you can check out all of Ray Bohacks' great multimedia content at farmmachinerydigest.com. You can also hear him each week on Farm Machinery Digest Radio on SiriusXM Rural Radio Channel 147. It airs each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern and again on Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern, so I hope you go and give him a listen. Gateway Seed Company was founded in 1997 on a simple principle. It doesn't start with the seed, it starts with the farmer. We pride ourselves in doing all we can to understand our customers' farming operations. We take the time to listen to their concerns, then focus on providing a solution to address their specific needs. Gateway Seed offers seed corn with trait packages from Bayer and soybeans with trait packages from Bayer, Corteva, and BASF. To learn more about how Gateway Seed can boost your yields and increase your return on investment, visit gatewayseed.com. With the business out of the way, now it's time to take things back to the country, and we're headed back to Kentucky via Nashville this week, where we catch up with rising country star JD Sheffield, who just dropped a new album straight from Kentucky. He also packed his hometown of Taylorsville, Kentucky with an album release concert. And get this, a clip for that concert even found its way last week onto Meet the Press. And if all that isn't enough, his latest single, Hometown in My Headlights, is currently on rotation on CMT, and he has some big tour dates on the calendar. That's a lot, but he's taking a breather to join us here today. JD Sheffield, welcome into Inside Farm Life.
And thanks so much for having me. What a week.
Man, it has been exciting to watch here from the sidelines. And I tell you what, after weathering the storm for the past year or so, like everybody's done, and you were quietly putting together the pieces there behind the scenes to come out strong on the other side of the pandemic. You know, you launched this new album straight from Kentucky, and it immediately debuted in the top 10 on iTunes. And then you followed that up the next day by packing thousands of people into your hometown for a blowout concert, and then you even had a People magazine feature written about you, and that has to be an incredible feeling to see all that hard work paying off.
Yeah, it's what a ride it's been. You know, I've known you for several years, but you know, I've been pounding away at this career since professionally since about 2008. You know, I picked up a guitar in college in 2002, and then started building a little fan base, playing around the area of Louisville and my hometown and Lexington, just kind of central Kentucky, and got enough courage to give Nashville a shot in 2008, moved here after graduation. And so I've really been at this a long time and kind of built this entire ship myself. So to get accolades like a People magazine feature and to have my fifth album come out and chart number 9 on iTunes without a label, it's a good feeling. And it's been a long time coming, but we've never stopped. We've always kept hustling. We've been persistent. We've never taken no for an answer. And we've just been building fans nonstop since 2008. Because I'm a road warrior. I burn the pavement up. I play shows every weekend. So I've always never had a lack of work and never had a lack of work ethic too. So all that kind of tied into one has kind of propelled us to where we are today. And we got a lot of people to thank that's been in our corner, including our fans and people like yourself and the media that's helped get our name out. So everything's kind of starting to kind of line up. They always say if you can get all the ducks to line up in one row, you've got it made. And I think that we're starting to kind of getting things happening on both sides of the court, and we're really excited about it.
Well, to take things back a little bit, you talk about that work ethic. A lot of that was honed right there on the farm. This is a show geared toward farmers and ranchers and folks in the ag industry, as well as lovers of country music. And man, you cut your teeth on the farm. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I grew up in Taylorsville, Kentucky, a little small town outside of Louisville. I like to say it's kind of in between 65 and I-64. Grew up on a tobacco farm. My parents instilled hard work and those morals and values growing up as a kid. So my grandpa Wilson and my dad, we were tobacco farmers, and that's what we were taught at an early age in life, of working on the farm. And then when the farm work was done, then we could do what we wanted. That was mostly play sports and hang out with our friends. So I spent many years in a tobacco patch, up in a hayloft, pitching hay bales, driving tractors when I was like 9 years old. And I still remember when Dad let me drive my truck at like 13 on the highway. And so I was doing things way early at an early age. And I got to think all that farm work really made me a man, really made me tough. And all those things kind of instilled in me right now as I carry over into music and running my business and getting out and making money doing this for a living. And I owe it all to farming and my grandparents and my father and my mother.
So tell us about the album, because so much of it is classic JD Sheffield, talking about your small town farm roots, hard work, faith and family, and your native Kentucky, all things that are very important to you.
Well, the album is titled Straight from Kentucky. I thought it was only fitting to call it that because there's a song on there that I wrote with Phil O'Donnell and Tyler Booth, another Kentucky kid. We wrote this song as an anthem, really to play at Hometown Rising a couple years ago. If you remember Hometown Rising, I think I got you tickets to that.
Yes, sir.
And we did that show, and I knew it was going to be a big one. We wrote that song. It was kind of a little, just a test. It was the first time I ever played it was at Hometown Rising. And so we tested it out, and my inbox flooded the week after that show. And then I guess a few months after that, I found out I was going to be on the Kentucky Tourism Visitors Guide. So all that kind of catapulted to, you know what, maybe I should just name my record Straight from Kentucky, because at the end of the day, that's where I'm from. That's where my story starts. And that's where my life came from. So we titled it that. The album contains 11 songs, 4 in which I co-wrote, and the other 6 I recorded from other writers, friends, and other artists. So really spent a lot of time working on this album, compiling songs, trying to find the best songs that I could find to help this record be a success. And I feel like the pandemic really allowed me to go back into the studio, really sit back, take a deep breath, and just think about what songs I truly wanted on this album. And so, like you said, I like you saying classic JD Sheffield, because really that's what it is. Songwriting's improved. I've got better songs, and I just feel like this album is going to take me places that I've been thinking about since 2008. So we're going to see what happens.
Well, that kind of brings me to what I've been wondering. How have you evolved as a writer and a performer since that last album, Tulane Town, which was released in 2018?
I've just they always say surround yourself with people that are better than you, and that goes with sports or songwriting or being in a band. And when I moved next door to a hit writer several years ago, his name was Mark Nessler. He took me from just a subpar writer to a pretty decent writer. I really felt like my songs got better when I met him. He gave me access to some of his songs and kind of teach me the ropes of writing hooks and lyrics and thinking of melodies and how you put everything. It's like a puzzle, and putting it together and finishing a song and then recording it. And, this album allowed me to meet more writers. Some of the best advice I ever got in Nashville was from a guy named Clarence Spalding. He's a Kentucky boy. He's Jason Aldean's manager. I met with him several years ago, and the meeting that day, I didn't really get much out of the meeting other than a line he told me. He said, if you're going to move to Nashville, you want to take the next step, you got to write with hit writers. And those words, hit writers, have stuck with me for so long. And that's what I've done the last few years, is actually write with hit writers, people that's written hits, people that know what they're doing, know how to write a good song. And so I feel like my songwriting's evolved because I've surrounded myself with people that's had success.
Well, 11 tracks on the album, including a couple that you dropped as singles prior to the album release, Church Pew Barstool, which was big on CMT for quite a while, and Bottoms Up Sundown. Of the tracks on this album, which is your favorite to perform live?
It's a toss-up between two. The current single going for ads on country radio is called Hometown in My Headlights. We just shot that video down in Lebanon, Tennessee. That's a pretty fun song. It's kind of a summer anthem, upbeat, good melody. Reminds me of just summertime and just hanging out in a field party. But the next one's got to be Fine by Me. That's my wife's favorite song on the album. It was one of the first songs I ever recorded for it. I knew it was a hit the second I heard it. And hopefully it'll be a hit for me one of these days. But both of those we've played live a couple times, and we do this little outro rock kind of jam with the guitar players on Fine by Me. Man, it just grooves. And so those are going to be a lot of fun to play this summer and fall. I know my fans have been itching for new music, and so these new songs have really amped up my fan base, and those songs playing live just so much fun.
So before we go any further, let's hear one from JD Sheffield from the new album Straight from Kentucky. This is the latest single, Hometown in My Headlights, on Inside Farm Life.
Been a while since I've been back round here. Sure looks like ain't nothing's changed. Same 2 lanes, same 2 red lights, same number on that population sign. It happens every single time I drive down Main. This windshield's like a movie screen, playing back those memories. Cheap cold beer and an old boombox, party going down in the parking lot. First time flames and Friday nights, tailgate talks and crossing lines. Happens to me every time I got my hometown in my headlights. My hometown in my headlights. The summer nights staying out way too late. Did our best to break every rule. Nowhere to go, just driving around. Yeah, we thought we ran this town. Burning tires, hearts on fire, thought we were so cool. This windshield's like a movie screen, playing back those memories. Cheap cold beer and an old boombox, party going down in the parking lot. First time flames and Friday nights, tailgate talks and crossing lines. Happens to me every time I got my hometown in my headlights. My hometown in my headlights. When I take a lap, it takes me back. That's why I take it slow. This windshield's like a movie screen, playing back those memories. Cheap cold beer and an old boombox, party going down in the parking lot. First time flames and Friday nights, tailgate talks and crossing lines. Happens to me every time I got my hometown in my headlights. My hometown in my headlights. I wanna take it slow. When I take a lap, it takes me back every time I go.
So with the album and with the opening of the country again, you begin to fill the calendar with tour dates. You've got a couple big ones coming up, starting with 117 Entertainment's NAMM kickoff show at 3rd and Lindsley in Nashville on July 15th, on which you're going to share the bill with David Nail, Leroy Parnell, and Scooter Brown, with the proceeds benefiting the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. So big one there. And then a few days later, you head to Louisville for Bourbon and Beyond presents ZZ Top, Blackstone Cherry, and JD Sheffield. Man, it doesn't get any better than that, huh?
Man, it's good to be me right now, brother. It feels good, man. Now, out of all seriousness, getting to play with David Nail and Scooter and Leroy Parnell, who's someone I've loved their music since day one. And we're raising money for a foundation. It's that my friend asked me to be a part of, and I had to say yes. So excited to be a part of that. And then ZZ Top, I mean, wow, I still can't believe we got asked to be on the bill with ZZ Top. I mean, you're talking about an iconic trio that sold over 50 million albums. Will be the biggest career highlight on my list once that show happens of anything I've done so far. I mean, I've played over almost 3,000 shows. I've been on CMT. I've done arenas. I've played stadiums. I've done gotten to do a lot of shows with my heroes. But to say I've opened up for ZZ Top will be a memory that I'll never forget. And we're just jazzed about it. And I couldn't believe they asked me.
Well, a big shout out to our buddy Zach Farnham with 117 Entertainment for the work with the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. And I know there's a lot of excitement in Louisville about that show with ZZ Top. You're also doing a lot with Blake Shelton's Old Red in Nashville and Gatlinburg. And you're on the Kentucky State Fair bill this year, opening for Jameson Rogers and Exile. And looking at this calendar, you're going to be one busy dude for the remainder of 2021.
Yeah, I actually booked 2 gigs today, man. I'm playing the Bella Louisville Steamboat Cruise, and then I'm doing a corporate event up in Lexington at Red Mile today, or in September. So actually, I've been getting quite a bit of inquiries. September is going to be the busiest September I've ever had. It gets to a point where it becomes a little bit overwhelming because it's like, oh my gosh, who's playing that show? Are we acoustic? Are we full band? Do I need sound? So, but we're just blessed to have the work. And, once my album came out on the 25th, and then the hometown show hit, and then the national press release came out that following Tuesday, I've been getting a lot of inquiries through my website. I've been selling albums. So it's a good feeling, man. Music's coming back, and we're jazzed.
And we should also mention you had a nice 4-day run at Gilly's Dance Hall inside the Treasure Island Hotel there in Las Vegas back in May. What was that experience like?
Just awesome, man. I mean, to get back to playing music to the fans and then heading out to Vegas and just being a part of just the bright lights and just playing shows with my guys. I mean, my guitar player, he's from Canada. So through the entire pandemic, he never made his way back to America because they wouldn't let him cross the border. So just playing shows with him, him and I are pretty tight on harmony, and he's kind of my right-hand man. So just being just playing with the guys and then seeing the fans and taking a road trip on an airplane, it was a great feeling.
So what else is on the horizon for JD Shelburne? I mean, what are some of your long-term goals here for your career? Because I really feel like this is your time.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been a long time coming for me. Going forward, we're just going to keep playing gigs and making a living doing what we love, promote my album, get my name out there to people that's never heard it, and just keeping music in the forefront, keeping promoting to the fans, shaking hands, kissing babies, like as what I like to say. Maybe one of these days we can play the Opry, get on a national tour, maybe get a top 10 hit. That's kind of the next step in my horizon. And we're not going to slow down. We're not going to stop. So we love what we do, and we'll just keep chugging along until we get there.
Man, I know I've told you from day one that Opry appearance is coming, and I can just feel that, and I can't wait for that day.
Yeah, that's been so close. I can't grab it, man. I can't wait for Gina and the crew to call me to play the Opry, man. That'll be a day that I can probably guarantee a sellout, man. I think I've had I've had a lot of fans tell me through the years, man, if you ever play the Opry, I'll be there. And I've been hearing that for years. If I can bring 10,000 people to Taylorsville, Kentucky, surely I can bring 3,000 to the Opry. We'll see.
We'll get it done. Well, we'll lead the charge right here if that happens. We talk about kissing babies, and I tell you what, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the other star in the Shelburne household, and that's your son, Jax Dillon. Man, the kid's growing like a weed, and even got to share the spotlight with you at the hometown show. How much of a game changer has fatherhood been here at a time when your career is really going full steam?
Man, fatherhood has changed my life. I mean, obviously, being a dad is the greatest job in the world, and it's catapulted my fan base. I mean, it has changed my music career for the better. I mean, my career's always been great. I've always had great fan support. But when Jax came into the to the picture, and I started posting photos of pictures of him and my wife online, just our daily lives. Maybe a night of him sitting in a chair, or maybe him, hold one of my CDs. It's whatever I can do to just amp up fan support. I mean, this guy, I got to say, this kid actually can bring my Facebook 1,500 likes in 10 minutes. I mean, it's crazy. People love him, and he's really been a tool. I mean, believe it or not, he's helped me sell records. I mean, it's amazing to see people show a love to him that have never met him, have never met me, but they feel like they know us because we share a personal side on my socials. And I feel like that's what I try to do. I want people to know I'm not just a robot that plays shows, and I don't care about the fans. I want people to see what we do on the inside. And I feel like Jax has really allowed us to really share that story that some people's never heard. So, he was a star of the hometown show, man. I brought him out on the show. I brought him out to the center stage and raised him up, and man, people went crazy. He actually has his own P.O. box, so he gets fan mail. He gets more mail than me. It's unbelievable.
Well, as we wind down our time this week with JD Shelburne, I want to share one more song with you that was a big old hit for him on CMT a few months back. In fact, it dominated the CMT 12-pack for a while. This is Church Pew Barstool on Inside Farm Life.
Well, I'm sure God's got a lot of strikes against me. I don't always make it to church on Sunday. Been known to use four-letter words, and too often I forget to pray unless I'm in trouble. I like my whiskey strong and double. Lord knows I spend a lot of nights sitting on this church pew bar stool, listening to the sinners and the fools talking about their broken hearts. 'Cause in here you come as you are. Can't help but think the man upstairs is cool. But with me on this church pew bar stool, last week I missed the preacher's sermon, but I was helping Joe unload some burdens. 'Cause he lost his job and lost his wife. So I had a holy Saturday night sitting on this church pew bar stool, listening to the sinners and the fools talking about their broken hearts. 'Cause in here you come as you are. Can't help but think the man upstairs is cool. With me on this church pew bar stool, the good book said to do what he would do, and I do. Sitting on this church pew bar stool, listening to the sinners and the fools talking about their broken hearts. 'Cause in here you'll come as you are. Can't help but think the man upstairs is cool. With me on this church pew bar stool, church pew bar stool. Church pew bar stool.
Well, JD, if folks want to follow your career and download this new music, where can they go to do all that?
Yeah, go to my website, jdshelburne.com. Everything branches off from there, Facebook and email and merchandise online. You can buy merchandise right there. We'll send it right to you the next week. Tour dates, music, videos, all that stuff's right from my website. If you can't find my website, go to google.com and Google JD Shelburne. You'll find it, even if you spell it wrong. So we want to verify people to our website address and like us on all socials. We're everywhere.
And if all else fails, just Google JD and Taylorsville, and that'll get you there.
Exactly. Amen.
Well, I tell you what, JD, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Inside Farm Life, man. We wish you the best of success with the new album and the tour, and we invite you to come back again and again, just to hang out, man, to share some music or just to talk shop here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the support through the years, man. I love what you do. Keep it up, and thanks for getting my name out in your crowd. And I'll return the favor, man. We appreciate what you do, and I'm sure I'll see you down the road. Hopefully at the Opry, you'll have a ticket if I get there.
Absolutely, man. We'll keep that one on the schedule here, and we'll keep putting it out there. Everybody go out and check out JD Shelburne, and JD, our regards to Amy and Jackson, your parents, and man, you're a blessed man. Just keep it up.
I gotta say, thanks for the diapers.
You probably about through those now. Now, if I remember correct, I think we got you a stage 3. So as fast as he's growing.
I tell you what, man, we go through diapers like wildfire, man. It's unbelievable. But we're loving it, man. And I tell you what, I'm about a pro changing a diaper. I will say that. Never thought I'd say that, but I'm saying that now. I'm a pro at changing diapers.
Dude, we had 3 at one time, so I understand
How'd
what you
do
speak of.
Well, that'll be a story for another day, but our time is up for this week, friends and neighbors. This is Brent Adams inviting you to join us back here again next week for more Inside Farm Life. And hey, bring along a friend.
You've been listening to Inside Farm Life, a production of FarmLife Media. If you have topic suggestions for future episodes, drop us a line at brent@farmlifemedia.com. And be sure to check out our website, farmlifemedia.com.